Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're going to explore one of the most beautiful, iconic, and frankly, completely unique animals you'll find anywhere in the wild, the African zebra. Now, at first glance, you might just look at one and see a close cousin of the horse. And you'd be right, they do belong to the horse family. But the zebra is a total marvel of nature all on its own, perfectly adapted to its environment in ways that are definitely going to surprise you. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The Secret of the Stripes, Unlocking the Mystery of the Zebra's Coat.
So why exactly do zebras have stripes? It's a question that has literally baffled scientists, biologists, and explorers for generations. Think about it. In the wild, animals usually try to blend in with their surroundings, right? They want to be camouflaged in subtle browns, greens, and tans. Yet the zebra evolved to stand out in this striking, high-contrast black and white. Why on earth would nature design an animal this way?
And this brilliantly illustrates part of that answer. Think about human fingerprints for a second. They're completely unique to each and every person on the planet. Well, zebra stripes operate the exact same way. Every single zebra has its own, completely individualized design. No two zebras have exactly the same stripe pattern. So what looks to us from a distance like just a uniform herd of black and white is actually a highly individualized crowd.
So, what's the actual biological purpose behind this unique coat? Well, scientists have narrowed it down to a few really fascinating theories. First, those unique fingerprint-like patterns actually help zebras recognize one another within their herd. Second, and I think this is wild, research suggests the contrasting stripes actually disrupt the vision of biting insects, making it much harder for flies to land on them. Pretty clever, right? And finally, predator defense. When a whole herd of zebras is moving together, that chaotic mass of moving black and white lines creates this massive optical illusion. It totally confuses predators, making it incredibly difficult for a lion to single out just one target.
Moving right along, let's hit Section 2, Meet the Three Species. We're breaking down the African zebra family. Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is the incredible diversity within the family. You've got the plain zebra, which thrives in grasslands and savannas, and that's by far the most common type. Then we have the mountain zebra, which is built specifically to survive in harsh, rocky, and hilly regions. But then there's the Grevy zebra, and they really stand out. They're distinctly physically larger with much thinner stripes. Tragically, though, they are endangered, and their populations are actually decreasing. It's a pretty sobering reminder that these incredible animals need active, ongoing conservation efforts. Section 3. Survival on the Savanna. Built for speed and endurance. 65 kilometers per hour. That is nearly 40 miles per hour. Just imagine the scene for a second. A predator attacks, and instantly, dust kicks up into the air as the zebra launches into a full-blown sprint. They are unbelievably fast runners, using their incredibly strong legs and quick, agile movements to evade danger out there on the open plains. And you know what makes that speed even more impressive? The sheer size of the animal. A fully grown zebra can stand between 4 to 5 feet tall at the shoulder, and they can weigh up to 450 kilograms. That's about 1,000 pounds. So you have this massive, heavily muscled animal rocketing across the savanna at 65 kilometers an hour. It is an absolute marvel of biomechanics. But fueling that massive body, that requires constant energy. Because they are strictly herbivores, running on a pretty low-calorie diet of grass, leaves, and shrubs, they spend the vast majority of their day just grazing and searching for food. And digesting all that plant matter requires a tremendous amount of water. Because of this constant need to drink, zebras have to stay relatively close to rivers, lakes, or waterholes. And unfortunately, those are the exact places where predators often lie in wait. Section 4. Family, foals, and herds. Exploring the social dynamics of the herd. Living in these big social groups, or herds, is really their primary defense mechanism against lions, hyenas, cheetahs, and crocodiles. They've developed this highly sophisticated system of teamwork and communication to protect one another. They use facial expressions, they use subtle body movements, but their vocalizations are what's really amazing. If you've never heard a zebra, they don't sound like horses. They bark, they snort, and they let out these loud, intense braying sounds. Honestly, it sounds very similar to a donkey. The second danger approaches, the herd just erupts in these immediate warning sounds to alert everyone.
Let's move along and see how this builds. Because this rapid survival instinct kicks in literally at birth. A newborn baby zebra, which is called a foal, has absolutely no time for a slow, gentle infancy.
They have to stand up, walk, and be ready to move almost immediately after hitting the ground to evade predators. Even with fiercely protective mothers guarding them, these newborns just have to be ready to run practically from their very first breath. It's tough out there.
And that brings us to our final section, Section 5, the Great Zebra Migration, the epic journey for survival.
Try to visualize the sheer scale of this for a moment. Thousands upon thousands of zebras traveling massive, sweeping distances in search of fresh grass and water. And they don't do it alone either. They're often traveling right alongside wildebeests and other grazing animals. This migration is widely considered one of the greatest, most awe-inspiring wildlife movements anywhere in the world. It is just a relentless, continent-spanning march for survival. So, the crucial point is perfectly summed up right here. Nature has gifted us many amazing creatures, and zebras are one of them. From their completely unique fingerprint-like stripes to their incredible social intelligence, and of course those epic migrations, the African zebra is a true masterpiece of evolution. It just reminds us of why we need to appreciate, respect, and actively protect our wildlife.
Which leaves us with this final, really vital question. How will we ensure these beautifully unique creatures continue to run free in the wild? Remember those declining numbers of the Grevy's zebra we discussed earlier? The survival of these magnificent animals isn't guaranteed. It requires our understanding and a real commitment to conservation. Thank you so much for joining me for today's Explainer. I hope you walk away with a newfound appreciation for the incredible African zebra. Keep learning, keep exploring, and I will see you on the next one.
Welcome to today's Explainer. You know, we all instantly recognize the iconic look of the African zebra, right? But today, we're going way beyond just that striking pattern. We're going to uncode the zebra not just as a beautiful animal to look at, but as an absolute master of wilderness survival. We're looking at a literal showcase of pure evolutionary brilliance. Okay, let's dive into this. At first glance, it's pretty easy to look at a zebra and just think, oh, it's basically a horse in striped pajamas. And fair enough, they do belong to the horse family after all. But actually, scratch that. Making that assumption means you completely miss an incredible story of survival and constant environmental adaptation. The whole mystery really starts to unravel the second we look a bit closer at their coats. Because get this, no two zebras have exactly the same stripe pattern. Out there on the vast plains of Africa, among thousands and thousands of animals, every single zebra has its own unique design. It's literally just like human fingerprints. Those iconic stripes are completely unique biological identifiers. How cool is that? Which brings us to Section 1, the secret of the stripes. So what does this all mean? If these stripes aren't just for looking fancy on the savanna, what's their actual purpose? Well, scientists view this pattern as an incredible multitasking survival tool. First up, it lets zebras instantly recognize each other even when they're in these massive, chaotic herds. Second, the pattern actually acts as a built-in bug repellent against biting insects. No way, right? And finally, when the herd gets moving, that giant, dizzying mass of black and white creates optical confusion, something scientists call motion dazzle, for dangerous predators. It's essentially a triple threat survival mechanism printed right on their skin. Let's move on to Section 2, built for survival. Now, beyond those famous coats, a zebra's physiology is perfectly, and I mean perfectly, balanced for endurance. These guys are incredibly robust. We're talking weighing anywhere from 250 to 450 kilograms, that's roughly 1,000 pounds, and standing 4 to 5 feet tall. Yet, to fuel that massive, heavy frame, they actually live a really peaceful herbivore lifestyle. They spend their days just anchored near water sources, continually grazing on grass, leaves, and shrubs all across the open savanna. And this brilliantly illustrates how all that leafy fuel powers their ultimate defense mechanism, 65 kilometers per hour. To put that into perspective, that's nearly 40 miles an hour. Their incredibly strong legs don't just carry all that massive weight around, they propel it at blistering blink-and-you-miss-it speeds. Because when predators like lions or cheetahs decide to strike, zebras are explicitly built to do one thing really, really well: run. All right, let's look at Section 3. 3 unique zebra species. You see, zebras aren't just one giant monolith. They've actually adapted to distinct local environments. You've got the ubiquitous plain zebra, which is the most common type you'll see. Then there's the mountain zebra, which is built for tougher, rocky, and hilly terrain. But then there's the gravy zebra. They're larger in size, and they have these much thinner stripes. Crucially, though, the gravies is considered endangered, with an actively decreasing population. It's a pretty stark reminder that despite all their evolutionary brilliance, they are deeply, deeply vulnerable.
Next up is Section 4, Herd Life and Communication. Survival out here in the wild? It isn't just about individual speed. It's absolutely a highly cooperative team sport. Zebras are constantly talking to each other. They use a whole mix of auditory signals, like barking, snorting, and this loud braying that actually sounds a lot like a donkey, combined with really subtle facial expressions and body movements. It practically acts as a continuous, high-tech security network. The very moment danger approaches, this immediate information loop ensures the entire herd reacts as one single unit.
And honestly, nowhere is this collective protection more critical than with a foal. Now, a foal is a baby zebra, and while mother zebras are fiercely protective, the African savanna is super unforgiving. It demands extreme mobility from the foal almost the very second they enter the world. The stakes literally couldn't be higher. Let's move to and see how this builds, because this early life is a true masterclass in survival. There is absolutely no time for a cozy rest after birth. Merely a short time after taking its first breath, the newborn foal must literally stand up, walk, and immediately begin moving quickly alongside the herd. This purely instinctual sequence is the only way to stay safe from predators that are lurking in the grass. From minute one, for a zebra, survival means staying on the move.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, the Great Migration.
When you zoom out to a grand scale, you'll see that instinct triggers one of the most awe-inspiring wildlife movements on the planet. Thousands upon thousands of zebras, often traveling long distances right alongside wildebeests, traverse the land in a massive, sweeping search for fresh grass and water. It is just a stunning, almost unbelievable picture of primal instinct and sheer raw endurance stretching across the sprawling African landscape.
So, we've seen how their unique stripes magically ward off threats, how their physiology handles blistering speed, and the unbelievable endurance required to sustain the herd. But as the endangered Grevy's zebra clearly shows us, evolutionary brilliance is no match for modern environmental threats. It leaves us with a critical, kind of uncomfortable question. Will we step up to respect and protect these master survivors so they continue to live freely in the wild? I mean, if a creature that has spent millions of years perfectly adapting to outsmart predators cannot survive without our help, what does that mean for the future of our wild ecosystems? Thank you so much for exploring the African zebra with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.